Hey guys, welcome to Ask the Advocate. How are y'all? Are you like just jumping on this live to avoid all of your family members that are asking you to go out and buy canned cranberries? Y'all don't eat that, do you? I don't know why people are so excited about Thanksgiving. The food is, So, for Thanksgiving, we're having steak fajitas, which is like a turkey, except for all the other parts. So, yes. So invite your friends. So we're going to do Ask the Advocate tonight. We have some guest speakers that are going to read your questions. So put them in the thing of the deal of the thing, and we will get to them. If we haven't met, I'm Mayer Cunningham, special education boss, helping everyone, trying to help everyone who sits at the 504 IEP table navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. And so we're excited about having you guys on and answering your questions. And we'll take the first question. Bonnie, do you have any questions?
Yes, so first one is I did a FERPA request and all I got was his SPED file. What do I do now?
Okay, so when you say a SPED file, what does that mean? So all of our requests, you have to remember everything that you do legally, you have to spell it all out, right? So if you have a FERPA request, and in the Academy we have a document that we use that we're happy to share with you. All members of Special Education Academy, and it's very detailed. So they only have a legal responsibility to give you what you ask for. So when we ask for evaluation of files, we ask for emails and the name and all the teachers in second grade and all the teachers in third grade and all the teachers in fourth grade and the PE coach's accommodations log. You have to ask for everything. So if you didn't ask for it specifically, they're going to give you his special education cumulative folder.
Okay, and then we have, how do you know if a student's delay rise to the level of special education rather than RTI?
RTI is awful. Did I say that? Yeah. RTI is response intervention. It's what any teacher is going to do. It has become a replacement for special education. So then what we've done is we've taken general ed teachers and we're actually making them provide special education services instead of giving them the intervention. You'll know RTI is like dyslexia. It either works or it doesn't work. But most kids that I get have been in RTI for years and for weeks, and it's just shenanigans. Hey, Angelique, we had a good visit about you today with our friends. It was very good. It was really good. You're muted, Bonnie, which is probably what my husband would like me to be. She's very soft-spoken, but yeah.
My daughter has an IEP and has an average of 61. What can I do for her?
Well, you don't do anything for her unless you are her teacher. So the school has an onus, a responsibility, a duty. Remember, special education is a responsibility and duty. Write that down. Special education has a responsibility and duty. They have a responsibility to write her an IEP to enable her to make progress in light of her unique circumstances. So when Andrew F. decision came down March 22nd, 2017, it was the first time that special education educators and staff members had now an onus or responsibility to provide an IEP that guarantees the student the ability to make progress. So that progress is on the school-based members. I would email them and ask for a review IEP and ask them what they're going to do to rectify that.
Okay, and can parents add any notes to the deliberations after a meeting?
Absolutely. So often school-based members are not warm and fuzzy and friendly, and they don't want you typing in the deliberations or you get into this, I wanted to say this, we disagree. And so all I do is I say, we will provide you our written response to your deliberations within 5 business days. And then I respond based on the parents' concerns, issues, what was addressed, what wasn't addressed, so that it's part of the file. As we all know, if it's not written down, it never happened. I get files from parents all the time that says they've disagreed for years. I'm like, but it's nowhere in the paperwork, which means that you did not disagree. If it's not in the paperwork, it did not happen.
Okay, and how do you know what information you should share with the school and what you should keep private?
So, I share all information with the school that's going to help them develop a robust IEP. If my student takes, and that's going to be impactful during the day, whether it's need for more hydration or need for rest or need to not be in the sun, anything that's off limits. I know parents and school districts sometimes get sideways, but if there's an educational need, I, as the advocate, am asking everybody to be transparent. So I certainly want the parents to be transparent.
Okay, and if a parent is asking for a change of placement, does the team have to meet?
Well, here's the good news. The parent is part of the team, right? So anytime that you want to make a consideration for an adjustment, an IEP, we convene an IEP with at least all 5 stakeholders. So Shannon, I'm going to let Shannon switch. Shannon, did you want to share some of the questions?
Yes. We've got a question here from Jesse. Can a school change your child from 5th grade to 3rd grade, moving child to regular ed classes?
It's a no. No. I had a kiddo the other day that is crazy book smart. And he was like a little. And they were like, let's put him in 7th grade math. Yeah, about that. He's not even, doesn't have all of his teeth. So, yeah. So, it's a no.
All right, another question here. What about counties and states requiring goals be written at grade level?
So, the IEP goal is supposed to be written off of the state standard. So, the state standard, I'm assuming for 4th graders, is going to be for the grade level that student is enrolled in. Obviously, the IEP goal, if it was written at the state standard, you would need an IEP, right? And I'm going to get the rest of you guys to mute. So if the student is in special education, he's not at the state level. That's why you would need an IEP goal. If he's at the state standard for a content area, then if he's at state standard for content area, let's say in math 4th grade, then you don't need an IEP goal for 4th grade math. If he's not, then we base our IEP goal based on the student's unique circumstances. How do I know what the unique circumstances are? Because I have a beautiful, robust, full and individualized evaluation that identifies his needs with communicative, language, psychological, emotional, behavioral, functional, academic, all of the things. But of course, the goal is written on the state standard, but then you spiral it down, scaffold it, swirl it down to his need. And then what is it you do baseline to whatever will be the expected outcome in 36 instructional weeks.
Okay. What are the requirements of a substitute in the SPED teacher's absence?
So substitutes are substitutes. They're not in place of a specific kind of instructor, right? You could have a substitute for English as a second language teacher. You could have a substitute for an AP teacher. You could have a substitute for, I don't know, anything, right? So we don't have substitute coaches. We don't have substitute science teachers. They're humans that are on a roster for a school district to sub. If you are not a special education teacher, you're not a special education teacher. There's been no exemption or waiver for that even since COVID. But certainly you will want to, in as much as possible, provide that substitute teacher with your lesson plans. Let them know which of your students have accommodations, IEPs, and what supports they would need. Christina, you want to ask some questions?
Yeah. So what do you do when you have your child's name and another child's name on an evaluation?
You roll on the floor and flip out. That's what I would do. I wouldn't do that because that would mess up my outfit. I would say, Dear Buttercup, which is how I start all emails. There seems to have been some crossover in students, and based on that, there's no way that I could believe the content, the summary, the data, or conclusion, and we would be asking for an IEE at the school district's expense. I actually had an evaluation a few months ago that had four different humans' full name, and the mom was so nice. She goes, "Do you think this is accurate?" I'm like, "I don't know. Did you have quadruplets?" I don't know. It's not accurate.
So if a school has not filled a specialist role, say, for example, a SLP due to parental leave, what is my recourse as a parent?
So whether there's somebody providing the special education or not, the why doesn't matter. If they were abducted by aliens, if they're going to state football game, if they're in a beauty pageant. If your student is being denied part, partial, sections or totality of his IEP, it's a denial of FAPE. It's a denial of a free, appropriate public education. The federal government, the state government doesn't care why it is. It's just a choice the district has made. Here's what I do know. Districts can staff rooms. I've never seen a district missing, lead people in their district for anything. It's the most amazing thing because they provide a wage and a measure of support that makes people want to apply for that position. So if they wanted to staff classrooms, they would. Okay? So Sarah, do you have some questions? Okay, so Sarah is struggling with her microphone, so we're going to go to Bonnie.
Okay, so a teacher held, quote, an IEP meeting with just the adult student and finalized the IEP in dispute. Can they?
So when you say adult student, so if the student is an adult of natural adult age and the parent has not obtained guardianship, then the transfer of rights has happened. And that student would, of course, attend their own IEP meeting without parental consent. If the child has a severe disability that is greatly impacted and has guardianship, and the school had that meeting, that would have been illegal.
Okay, and what should an LSSP do when gen ed teachers don't track data for a potential needed BIP for initial?
So it's a requirement. So when an LSSP or a diagnostician or an O&M or a VI teacher or a DHH itinerant teacher or PT asks for data from the school-based members, you provide it. So those things aren't optional. You have to have the information so we can talk about the educational need.
Can a public school place a child with an IEP on a wait list for not having enough space for the child?
That's not a real question. I know you guys are just trying to joke with me, right? A wait list is at a restaurant. A wait list is at your hairdresser. A wait list is when you're buying furniture. Children, they don't come on a wait list. So should the school choose to deny a free appropriate public education for your student, then you decide which of those six dispute options you're going to trigger to get it rectified.
What if in the IEP states he needs to have someone with him all the time? What if the IEP states he needs to have someone with him all the time?
So whatever the IEP states, we deliver until we've gathered data that that's not what he needs. So if we have an agreed upon IEP that's in place, then we deliver it. If we don't deliver it, we have chosen to deny the student FAPE. They're not up for discussion. And when schools receive an IEP and a new student, it's not like, I like this, I don't like, you're not ordering off of a menu. This is a human that has had testing, that has a disability or disabilities, and we've determined that this is his needs right now. And so we deliver the IEP, or you file in a way that gets you compensatory time. So depending on what part of the IEP wasn't delivered, I would either file a state written complaint, a due process complaint, or a U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights complaint. All of those, you want somebody, if you can, to help you write those complaints. Complaints are legal documents, and the second you send it, it's going straight to an attorney. Yes, Alicia.
Haley says, my daughter is regressing, but they keep telling me she's doing fine and want to remove goals. What do I do?
So it sounds to me like since you say she's doing fine, you must be about to present some data that we can all look up on the screen and see. All data should be able to be tracked, charted, and photocopied.
Amen to that. A teacher said, what is the best way she can let a parent know that they need an advocate?
What they do is they take a piece of paper and they write it down and they fold it in 4 little pieces and they look away and they hand it to them. Unfortunately, that's still where we are. Here's the thing with an advocate. Advocates are amazing. Teachers are amazing. Parents are amazing. Would any of you go into court without representation? No, it's not a good idea, right? The investment for your child to have a good IEP is probably going to be through an advocate. Can you go outside and change the transmission in your car? I don't know. I take my car to a car place. You don't know special education law. You don't. Lots of wonderful people on this app who think that they do. They don't. I do this every day, all day long, for about 6 or 7 days every week of my life. And you can never finish learning special education law. So to think that you're going to go in there and as a parent and get information from school-based members who also have no training in special education law, you're going to get an IEP. You're going to get Burger King. And listen, I am not mad at Burger King, but that may not be the IEP that enables your child to make progress in light of their unique circumstances. And based on your trusting these persons that, in my experience in these great United States, school districts have not appropriately invested in training their staff, it will affect your child's ability to be successful in life, successful at work, successful in taking care of themselves, successful at communicating their needs. I can't imagine a more important investment than your child having the right individualized education program, period.
Absolutely agree. Last one for me is, can a special education student be left out of graduation?
I'm sorry, we don't leave students out of graduation. So if a student in a school district did not meet the graduation requirements, then they wouldn't walk. But we don't have special education students. We have students, and we have students that receive special education services. So I don't know what that's about. However, if you do have a student that receives special education services and they are going to continue in the 18 to 21 program, that might be what the school is talking about, because you're still going to be receiving services, a special education product, and you haven't finished the delivery of FAPE. But if you got your credits, everybody that gets their credits, if they want to put on that shiny polyester blouse called a cape, do it. Shannon?
All right, we've got one here from Sarah. Can a paraprofessional give instruction in SPED teacher absence and count to minutes?
Well, let's talk about that, Muffin, shall we? It's funny that you brought that up. So I will not bother you with the school district's name on the top of it. So I'll cover it up because I'm that nice. So this is a document called, which you should all get, it doesn't matter where you live. They have an updated one, but this is from 2018. So this is a Texas Education Agency specially designed instruction, right? We test kids to see if they're in need of specially designed instruction. And since it's a legal thing you might want to know about, it's lots and lots of information. It's a guideline from Texas. And at the very bottom, because I see school districts from Maine to Minnesota to Montana to Miami doing this shenanigan, giving a general ed teacher and a paraprofessional, and we said, oh, it's special education. It's not. So here's what it says. General education, that's actually what it says. General educator and special educator roles and responsibilities. Their roles and responsibilities, their duties, because you take federal funds. You take federal funds for high yield instructional strategies. I want high yield instructional strategies. We have one job in special education, to teach a child strategies to self-manage their disability. At the bottom it says, let's all read it together. Paraprofessionals may provide specially designed instruction to students receiving special education services when a certified special education teacher designs the specially designed instruction and the paraprofessional is under the supervision of the certified special education teacher. Any questions? So I did 3 OCR complaints today, and they were from here, there, and everywhere. And guess what I alleged? I alleged this school district has a general ed teacher and a paraprofessional. And I love paraprofessionals. They've changed the life of every kiddo that I've ever served and my own son. They're not special education teachers. I'm not a special education teacher. You may not be a special education teacher. So as much as I love special education kids, I'm not a special education teacher. I can't deliver that. General education teachers can't deliver that. And an IEP is a special education plan. So you guys are getting robbed. And when I have these complaints, I probably have a whole lot with the OCR. It's unconscionable that parents are duped into this because you think a second person is special education. And the truth is, a really nice person who's not special ed certified could be harming your child, right? It'd be like, you probably don't want me to be your nurse during open heart surgery. We'd have a few laughs, but I might stand on your oxygen line, right? So I need special education delivered to my student. If you need to be liked, have somebody else go in there with you. This is your child. Only opportunity that you have to intervene, get it exactly right now. Sorry, I got a little worked up there.
No, that was great.
So-
Thank you.
This might be a good way to segue into, somebody asked a question, when do you know it's the right time to get an advocate involved in your IEP meeting?
Yesterday, when you were pregnant. Yeah, it's time, right? There's a reason that surgeons don't operate on their own kids. There's two people that are too close to the student with a disability: the school and the parents. And you're one of them. And so, as I tell my clients, which you can get the shirt on our site, you be adorable and I'll be clear. My job is to not be buddies with people. I love people. I teach in school districts. I love what I do. I teach nationally. But you're too close with the parent. You have way too many emotions attached to your child, as did I. You have way too many emotions attached to this relationship that you think you have with a campus. And listen, love, you don't have a relationship with the school. You live there. If you moved, we would go, man, I miss Cindy. Whatever happened to her? She's gone. Her kid graduated. She never comes to the pumpkin fair. Your kid goes to school there. And we've made it something different, which is why when it goes sideways, we get our feelings hurt. This is a professional teacher who's providing your child a professional education. And special education teachers provide them special education products. You've got to take yourself out of it because you're too close. Oh, what's the name of the document that I just read? Well, let me tell you, Jero Blanc. It is I'm sure it's backwards. Here, does that help it? That's not funny, Karen. This is so serious. Specially designed instruction. Special ed. What is child find? We test children to see if they're in need of special education. Specially designed instruction, special education. They're interchangeable words. So here's how you know if it's specially designed instruction, because it's special and it's instruction. I know, that's crazy, right? So who's doing that? Only a special education provider, a related service professional, an instructional service professional, or a special education teacher. Not Miss Tammy, who makes the nachos on Friday nights, and I love fake cheese. She's not a special education teacher. Make sure that your child is getting exactly what they're supposed to have.
So what can I do when the new school hasn't scheduled an IEP meeting after asking several times?
So we don't ask. So stop asking. Start emailing. And so this is my request for an IEP meeting to review my son's progress. Today is November 22nd at 3 o'clock. And then the next day, you email again. Hey, it's November 23rd. This is my second email that hasn't been responded to. Hey, it's my third email. Nobody ignores me because I'm unignorable. Is that a word? I feel like it might be on the SAT test. Unignorable, right? Because you're being nice and asking, I don't know what that means. If you were in the emergency room, listen, special ed is the emergency room. I don't wait in emergency rooms. Maybe you guys wait. I don't wait. I don't wait at airports. I get up and ask. Like this morning, I had to wait 13 minutes for an egg sandwich in Orlando. I'm fine now, right? But she said it would be 7 minutes and it had been 8. So I charged the line and I said, where's my sandwich, right? You have not because you didn't ask the right way. So I'm asking for a legal meeting. They're not doing you a favor. They have a requirement to hold the meeting. It's the law. It's a requirement. I'm emailing you to have a review IEP. A review IEP. Why? To look at my son's progress. About what? We have to know. You have to tell us, Karen, so that we can invite the right people. You know who you should invite? Everyone. All right, super. You get caught in this, and I'm the queen of showing up. Like you just show up, right? Hi. Remember I was in an admin building one day, the last day of school, and I was like, hi, I'm here with a parent. She's crying. One of your staff members was just atrocious to her. We're going to sit over here and wait for somebody in special education. And they were like, well, this is the last day of school. I'm going to be over here on the couch. You don't behave like you mean it, and they don't believe you. I mean it. When I'm advocating for children, I mean it. Like their life and their future depends on it, because it does.
Lots of people asking, how do they get you as their advocate?
Salt and pepper shakers. I collect salt and pepper shakers. So we have a team of advocates that are just as amazing as I am, and some of their hair is a little bit smaller. Working on that. So if you're interested in me representing you or one of our affiliate members, just email us at admin at specialeducationacademy.com and we will get you with somebody.
I have Lindsay who asks, why would a school say you don't want to label your child with an IEP? He has severe general anxiety.
MONEY and WORK. Money and work. See, the truth is they don't think your child's worth the investment. I mean, let's just talk about that. The reason they talk you out of it is they don't believe your child's worth the investment. Let me tell you what, both of my boys in school were professional athletes, and strangers would come up to me like somehow I had something to do with it. And we invested in athletes, and we should. And we invested in the National Honor Society kids, and we should. And we invested in the FFA for people raising little animals, and we should. We don't invest in it because we don't believe those kids have equal value. I said that, and I mean it. And I used to feel the same way before I was a parent with a child with a disability, and I was wrong for that. I had the same biases. But we don't believe those kids that have disabilities are worth the investment. And you know how I know that? By our actions. By the money that we spent on legislative floors at the state level. And it's my job with my big mouth to help lead all of us to raise up special education bosses and say, this is a bunch of shenanigans. We're not going to put up with it. As an owner of several businesses, I would hire a special ed, an adult that was in special ed. You probably don't even know them, right? Because you know what? They're the hardest workers that there ever were. You know why? Because nothing was easy for them. So we believe in things that are valuable to us and we fund it. And we have it upside down in this nation.
So, someone has a kiddo, the curriculum is 2 grade levels up, and their child is already 2 grade levels behind. What should they do?
So they should get them tested for special education and related services. Here's what you can't do anymore. Wait. I don't know who you're waiting on. Nobody's going to knock on your door, love, and say, hey, I'd like to provide you special education and related services. I'd like to test your child for $2,500 to $5,000. I'd like to do that for you. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in Massachusetts, Montana. Are there other M states? I don't know. Michigan, Minnesota. It's not going to happen. It hasn't happened in the 26 years that I've done this. It's never going to happen. I get it. It's a federal law. I get it. It's not fully funded. But whatever we want, we have money for in America. You're going to have to tell them how it is in a lovely way.
Leanne is asking if she lives in the Houston area. Do you recommend any advocates in that area?
I know one. Yeah. So Houston area, we love the Houston. I live in the Houston area. So yeah, I live in Houston, but I have been sitting at this lovely computer since March 13th, 2020. So I have clients all over the nation and some outside of the United States. But yeah, all of my meetings are done via Zoom, so I don't bite people. Right. And so I have good seating. Remember the olden days we went in person and they made you sit in the lobby and then you had to get a lanyard and the lanyard didn't match your outfit? That's bothersome. And then you'd go into the room and as soon as you walk into the room, like nobody's speaking and they give you the worst seats. So all of the people that I train, we do everything via Zoom. We just had a full due process hearing in Texas. I'd like to say we won. Go Team Rusty. I'm not crying. I do mediations. I do custody. I do divorce. I'm a mediator for the family court. So we do everything via Zoom. It's a much better business model. We can share screens, like sharing screens like data. I'm not waiting for Miss Tammy to go make me a photocopy of something while they're all typing on their laptops and I'm just supposed to sit there and be adorable. So I'm very much a fan of the Zoom. But yes, all of our advocates advocate from coast, however many coasts we have. I have no idea how many coasts we have. I don't even know what the capitals are. So, but yes.
Lindsay asks, why would a school say you don't want to label your child with an IEP? He has severe general anxiety.
Because they are uninformed. And I'm being nice. And there's a million reasons people are uninformed. It doesn't matter. It's discrimination at the highest level, and it's toxic. Here's the good news. I was just in Disney World, and there were a lot of children there. Nobody had a label on them. Not one. Now, there were some in harnesses, right? So they say that to dissuade you. I have the gift of persuasion. I can take the same content and go, oh man, Christina, if you want to go to West Elementary School, it's your decision. Or I could go, oh, Christina, West Elementary School, oh, it's the best staff, right? So there's a reason somebody's trying to sway you, right? At the end of the day, if your child needs something, would they say, oh, I wouldn't want a kid that wore glasses. Oh, you don't want to wear glasses. Then what? Labels. Adults don't have labels. Children have eligibilities, which open the door for services. And I would poke somebody in the eye with a noodle. They said that to me.
Someone's asking if you have a training coming up.
Yes, I have a training coming up in the training time, the 3rd and 4th of December. And then we will have one. We have another training in January, the weekend of Martin Luther King Jr. weekend thing deal. That Saturday. Was that good? That's Friday. That's Saturday and Sunday. Yes, but the last one for the year is December 3rd and 4th. We also have the 2-day intensive live on demand.
Perfect.
Yes, we do. So several people have asked, do we offer trainings for SPED teachers? So 3 of the people behind me are SPED teachers, and over 2/3 of the people at all of our trainings are school-based members. You will learn more. I guarantee all of my trainings by lunch the first day than you have ever learned in all of your years. I guarantee that. And yes, we do teacher professional development nationwide as well.
Can they continue to suspend a kid with an IEP for autism and behavioral issues?
Not if you had good representation. Unfortunately, you don't know the laws. So if we have a behavior that keeps presenting, I would call an MDR, a manifestation determination, to see if these behaviors, these outcomes are a result of his known disabilities, and then look at it from that angle. So the email is, and I'm sure you guys are typing, but I can never see. It's admin@specialeducationacademy.com.
Tasha says she has an emergency IEP meeting for her son who is being bullied. What do I need to ask? What do I need to be asking for?
So, respectfully, bullying is not part of an IEP. That would be an administration issue. However, depending on how sustained it is and knowledge of the staff members, not another student, it could be a civil rights complaint. So, you don't need an IEP meeting to talk about, is administration going to supervise the students in the school? The IEP meeting is to talk about the paperwork that we've comprised to deliver an educational product, and then do we need to make adjustments on his goals, his supports, accommodations? There's no adjustment in his paperwork to not be bullied.
Courtney's asking, can the school refuse a progress report for a student that has autism on the IEP even though he is verbal?
No. Remember, anything that you get that sounds goofy, this is what you say. Please provide that denial to me in writing by close of business. That rectifies about 99% of all goofiness.
So this question is interesting. It says, school wants to temporarily take away mild mod services as punishment. I know they can't do that, but how do I approach this?
I have thoughts. I'm not going to let them out. So, what? So, an eligibility, we don't use it against the child. An eligibility is just an identifier, right? It identifies a need. So again, this is what I would do. When you hear something goofy, I would just email back and go, hey, Christina, really enjoyed our meeting today. Just for clarification, just wanted to confirm that you said that you were going to take away mild, moderate as a punishment for my son. Did I capture that correctly, Muffin? And then wait for their response. And if you continue to get that, I would reach out to the secretary of the superintendent. This is gold right here. Listen to me. If you want to get movement in a school district, call the secretary on the telephone and say, I'm having an issue. I need it rectified by 5 o'clock tomorrow at close of business, or I'm going to have to move forward with my dispute resolution options. That gets a response.
Okay, and would epilepsy and ADHD fall under OHI eligibility?
Depending on the acuity of them, right? So you could have ADHD and epilepsy that did not rise to the level of an educational impact because they were managed by a great behavioral and or medical team. However, if they rise to the level of needing education around them, then you would, right? There's some epilepsy that's so severe that kiddos miss time, it affects their memory, they're tired after a seizure. So you would write goals around that, right? How does that impact them? What does the team need to do? Where's their reteaching, right? ADHD, there's about 8,000,200 ADHD goals that you could have that you would want to teach them a strategy so they could self-manage that ADHD full time.
Do you have any resources for progress monitoring?
Yes, the software that your school uses to write the IEP has progress monitoring reports in it. I would ask them if they can make me a copy, or would they like me to make them one? You'd be surprised on the answers. Sometimes when I say that, like they're like, yeah, could you do that for us? Yeah, if you want to write me a check, I could. No, it's in the software. So you should be getting progress reports at the same time of each grading period. And you want to measure them against those IEP goals that you wrote.
So this one keeps coming up. My child has an IEP with modification of work, but she's failing all courses. What do I do?
You get a new IEP. All right. So the IEP is to serve a student. If they're not making expected progress or the expected rate of progress, we go back and fix the IEP. When students are failing, it's operator error. I know that's going to hurt your feelings. That's fine. I have never in 26 years not seen when an IEP is adjusted correctly, services are supported, things are faded that are over supported, the kiddos don't win. Never seen that, even if we have to put a kiddo in out of district placement at a psychiatric unit, right? But kids in special ed don't get failing grades. That's a staff issue.
Is your training open to parents?
My training is open to humans. If you're not a human, you can't come to the class. And listen, we've met a few of those at the classes. We didn't know, though, till we got in there. And they had like 3 heads. I'm like, ma'am, this is a 1 head per person class. So there's that.
And can you please say the email again?
Yep, it's admin@specialeducationacademy.com. And yes, I do have a sense of humor. If you don't have a sense of humor, please don't be in special education. Don't be in education. If you don't have a sense of humor, don't be with people. That's my recommendation. Somebody the other day said, special education is not funny. It is. I'm sitting in a meeting with you, ma'am, every year. It's funny.
Nicole wants to know how they can get you to look over their child's IEP and help.
Sure. So I do probably a third of what I do is just straight records review, as do my affiliate advocates. And so we receive an opening packet from a parent, and we get that opening packet. Once I receive the documents, or one of my affiliates does, then we review all the documents. We go through the whole thing, and then we set up a Zoom. And then myself or one of the advocates, whoever is assigned to you, will go over their recommendations, their corrections, and next steps with you. And then depending on where parents are in their comfort level, they might say, I got it, Karen. I got it, Sarah. I got it, Shannon. And they go be special education bosses, or they're like, that was a lot of words, and I don't know what you're talking about, so I'd rather you do it, which is fine.
Can you put required snacks in an IEP?
I thought that was a trick question. Like for me, I require snacks. We can put anything in an IEP the student needs to be successful. Do we eat at school? We do. Do you need to brush your teeth at school? You may. Do you need to brush your shoes? Do you need to brush your shoes? Do you tie your shoes at school? Anything that a student needs that's going to help them with gainful employment, independent living, and further education, we can put in an IEP. So I have kiddos that have food trauma. I have kiddos that are failure to thrive kiddos. I have kiddos that it takes them all day to actually eat their snack. So whatever a kid needs to be successful in an educational setting, of course we put it in the IEP document.
Okay, I've got a question. Tina is asking, can a teacher advocate in the district that they work in?
No. But you can come train with us. And I'm here to tell you the truth. I'm not here to tell you, I'm not here to fluff you. I'm anti-fluff unless it's my hairdo. But the truth is, and there are some amazing school districts. I have a blessing of training for some amazing school districts. But it's my experience that when teachers or staff members or anybody that works at those schools says something that opposes the status quo of bad special ed, it is not received well. And so the teachers that come and take my training, because I am not a teacher, I'm not smart like you do, you guys are, you went to college and you finished, they tell me that they are prepped and hushed. Now that would be a problem for me. I've been prepped, but I've never been hushed. So if you want to help kids from the outside in, you want to be recession proof, and you want to make your own schedule and have an ability to change children's futures and give families hope, then please come train with us, train online. You don't need to work for us or be aligned with us, but we want to give you real tools to effectually navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes.
Okay, another question here. Mrs. Coogan says, sped teacher who's struggling here, how do you determine full-time versus part-time ed?
Full-time versus part-time ed for who? Like whether or not she should be a full-time teacher, or like part-time general ed for a student. If it's for a student, all determinations are made on one 4-letter word: data. If we don't have the data, we wait. If we do have the data, we move on it, period. But otherwise, we're just sitting around with a bunch of feelings. And in Andrew F. on March 22nd, 2017, the Supreme Court said, a teacher's observation is an opinion that can't be verified. So unless it would be an exhibit or evidence in a courtroom, you don't really have data. Data is quantifiable. It stands on its own. So you need to make sure that there's plenty of it as we're programming for kiddos.
Okay.
Wonder Woman. Sorry, Shannon.
No, go ahead, Sarah. You're good.
Wonder Woman grandma. Is it legal for a school district to refuse testing for special education? This is in Minnesota.
In Minnesota. I'm going to be in Minnesota in April because I heard that's when you get above freezing. Of course it's not. Does it happen? Yes. That's why you say, should you choose to deny me testing, please provide that denial to me in writing by close of business so that I may know my next legal steps.
So this question says, they are wanting to transition my daughter from IEP to 504 because she is making all A's. Thoughts?
No. No. That's like saying, listen, you've been taking Prozac, you're in a good mood, right? So you've been wearing glasses, you don't need them anymore. We provide the IEP because kiddos need it. I can count on one hand kiddos that would ever need to be dismissed from special education. I don't know needs that evaporate. If they're being successful, why would you take away those supports for them to be successful? And there's no such thing as a transition from an IEP to a 504. It's called a denial of services.
Hey, real quick, you've had about 5 people ask if they need to pre-register for your December in-person training, and I know it's filling up fast, so you want to let them know how to do that?
Yeah, so yes, you have to, there's no registration there, unless you had a lot of salt and pepper shakers. I'm just kidding. So you would go to specialeducationacademy.com, and sign up for the in-person December 3rd and 4th. But yes, we will close it probably a week ahead of time, so that is whenever that is. Next Sunday.
Friday.
Sunday it'll close. Yeah. So sign up. All the good looking people are coming.
Okay, question here. Melody says, can teacher data be used for a change of placement alone? I guess teacher data alone, can that be used for a change of placement?
Well, I mean, the teacher data might be exactly perfect. I mean, so it could be Dr. Evans could bring her data. It could be Dr. Joshua Rotenberg. It could be the SRO for the school. whatever data is true and real and accurate depiction of the student, that's data. Unless you have data to dispute what she's saying, that would be enough if you believe that it's honest and captured the student currently in its current needs.
Okay, and Trisha says on Monday she has an IEP meeting. She requested the raw data collection sheets and they were not provided as requested. What can she do?
So surprised. So I would email and say, can you tell me why you're choosing to deny me my students' records, which are one of my procedural rights? We have a great, very long, is it 11-week training, Alicia? I think it's 11.
Yes.
We have an 11-week training, 22 hours of training on your procedural rights. The reason you don't invoke your rights is because you don't know what they are. So one of your procedural rights, you have the right to see, examine, and view your child's educational records. If there are no raw data collection sheets, then that would be assumptive to a fact finder that no data was collected, which would be a failure to implement the IEP. So my email would say, can you confirm why you're denying me my students' records by close of business?
This one's a good one too. School psychologists denying testing requests by teachers demanding 6 weeks of RTI first.
January 21st. I think I'm getting it. Is it 21st, 22nd? January 21st, 22nd, 2011, OSEP letter, Office of Special Education Programs, said, oh, by the way, RTI or any other intervention does not stop special education testing. So we have to, unfortunately, for the millions of teachers, they were taught that. The reason they all said that is because somebody said that to them. It's completely illegal. That's like saying you got to be really, really sick for 12 weeks before you can go to the emergency room. It's not true.
And how do I handle the school using seclusion timeout rooms on my non-aggressive ASD 7-year-old?
Timeout rooms are not allowed anymore, so I don't know what that is. So I would reach out to your school board and say, please provide me your discipline handbook for the school district. I would then reach out to the state and email them, hey, Department of Education, State Board of Education, please provide me your discipline options for students with disabilities and what's the legal requirements. But no, timeout rooms are not, no. What's a timeout room? What is that? No.
Chase says, son has been diagnosed with migraines, misses classes in days. Nurse has initiated a 504. Should it be an IEP?
Yeah, it's always, is there an educational need? If you're missing instruction, the conversation's over. For whatever your reason, every one of my kiddos have diabetes, they're on an IEP. Why? Because I've got to teach them to use that time efficiently to address their medical needs and get back to instruction. The child is missing instruction. So because they're missing instruction, I'm going to need to write an IEP goal around it because their educational product is impacted. So raw data collection sheets. So we have IEP goals, right? And then you get this printout, this electronic printout that's all filled in, it's all typed in, all nice that somebody filled it in, right? But when I collect data and when I write notes, they're on, 5,000 sticky notes and post-it notes and all the things, right? Those little notes are what I use to fill out the software for the printed IEP progress reports. That's what I'm asking for. Your raw data collection sheets. When you took data once a week, you wrote that down on a piece of paper. Do not provide me a data collection sheet where your handwriting is perfect and symmetrical and the weight on the pencil is the same. There's a word for that. Problematic, right? So, what are the raw data collection sheets that support his outcomes?
If a student with ADHD, OHI is making progress and has learned the skills to make progress, why not a 504?
What skill did he learn? So ADHD has a million outcomes, right? And the outcome that a kid with ADHD might have when they're 8 is definitely different when the pressure of 10th grade shows up. So when you go back to the FIE, you will look at ADHD, right? Attention, inattention, and combined type. And it will say the levels that he met. So here's what I know, and I don't know a lot. If you believe a child should not be on an IEP, or if anybody believes a child should no longer be on an IEP, I don't have a problem with that. You got on an IEP the same way you get off. So you tested in. So since you think there's no educational need, I would be amenable to a professional LSSP, an LPC, a social worker, somebody that does the emotional behavioral testing in your district, county, or state to retest to see if he meets eligibility. But us just talking about it, we're not doing that.
Can you explain why some students have, with vision impairment, has a 504?
No, I can't explain that. It makes me crazy. So over 3/4 of individuals between the ages of 3 and 22 in America with a vision impairment who are deaf, blind, or deaf and hard of hearing are on 504s. I don't even know how that's a possibility. But it's egregious, and it's penalizes children with sensory disabilities, which is why 76% of adults that have a vision impairment are unemployed, because we gave them a 504. A 504 requires nothing to be tracked, and we're measuring nothing, and we're not teaching a skill.
Someone said, why does IDEA not cover nonverbal learning?
I'm not sure the question. Why does IDEA not cover nonverbal learning? I'm not sure the question.
And then she said, nonverbal learning disability struggles with math, especially on a 504 for extended testing time.
Is there a student nonverbal?
Yes.
Well, for students nonverbal, then they met eligibility with a speech impairment, which requires an IEP.
Correct.
Unless they're in that Kentucky RTI in speech. It's a special they have. Mm-hmm.
I understand that Kentucky special.
It's a special.
Yeah. Does digital data collection through Google Forms count as raw data collection?
If that's really the way you collect data, yeah. I mean, if you're one of these young kids that don't even know what a curling iron is, a backcomb, or an 8-track tape player, then yes, if that's the way you take data on your little eyeball phone, then that's fine. I don't believe that's usually the way you're not walking around with a laptop, but that's fine. That's really how it happens.
Okay, and then someone said it's very hard not to feel like the teachers are not on your side. I feel like they are struggling too.
Everybody is struggling. But the reason we're struggling is because of the bean counters. I love teachers. So, would you let me do surgery on your kiddo? Because I love kids. Raise your hand. Anybody would like me to get a scalpel, some wet wipes, and cut your kid's arm open? No, I don't know how to do that. I haven't been trained to do that. The teachers haven't been trained. We could be on these lives for 10 hours and the questions would never end. The questions are from educators, and I love educators. We have people in the academy that are superintendents, that are 504 coordinators of massive districts. Why? I mean, if the superintendent doesn't have the training, who's giving the training? And I love special ed attorneys. I know 1,000 of them, but they go and train on what? Compliance. They don't train on, but they go and train on what? Compliance. They don't train on how to implement an IEP with fidelity. They train on compliance. I don't care about compliance. I care about compassion and people having character, and we have to fund special ed. We don't give teachers a fair payment. We don't give them materials for their class. We don't give them instruction. If I had 100 teachers, they couldn't tell me what the 13 federal eligibilities are. I've had 10,000 teachers, and I said, did you know that each of you are required to take written data on accommodations every single day? They would fall over, faint, because I'm lying. This is special ed 101, and teachers have no idea what it is. I am not a teacher. I'm not anything. I do have a Sam's card, though. But I took the special education certification test for Texas. It was a joke. It was a joke. It had nothing to do with special education. It had some random information. But I have people that are on our team now that have worked for 10, 20, 30 years that I could have just said, you have to wear purple socks on Thursdays in IDA. Nobody knew. Half the people don't even know what IDA means. Half the people couldn't write down a clean definition of a 504 and an IEP. Most people don't know what the P stands for. PAPOW. That's what it stands for, right? So these are people that are educated just like you, all the teachers on here, all the paraprofessionals, all the parents. And the problem is there's so much information, but nobody gives it to them in a way that's just honest, right? And I get school districts are trying to keep their staff, and we're trying to, fight off all the advocates. I don't know why you don't link arm with the advocates. Now, there are some advocates that you should get out a spray bottle and just spray them. Just when they talk, just spray them, which is why I'm on a Zoom, right? There are some people that aren't good in their field, whether they're a pastor, a teacher, a banker, an advocate. That's a given, right? We don't need to talk about that. But we don't invest in special education teachers. We don't invest in general education teachers. We don't invest in bus drivers. We invest in certain people at school districts. I know, because I do a FOIA request. So if you want to know where the value is in your school district, do a FOIA request. FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act. And that's where the freedom is, when you have the information. Everybody at the admin building, school board members, that superintendent makes a really large amount of money for superintendenting. What do superintendents do? Are they just superintending? What are they tending? It's like a garden? I don't know. But 85% of your budget is spent on people that don't work with children.
Can a parent become a special education advocate?
If they're a human. If they are a parent and they are not a human, we can't allow it. Of course, parents are the best advocates. You know why? Because they lived it. They lived it. And when you have a pain point and you've been a teacher of kids with disabilities, or you have a niece or a nephew, or you're a parent, or it's what you do for a profession, really great advocates are people that have been impacted personally by children with disabilities. So, of course, parents can be great advocates. We've got to take the crazy out of them. And that's about a 4-hour process. We just hose them down. But yeah, parents are great advocates.
She's not wrong. Taylor.
Oh, wait, this is so good. Wait. Oh, my God. Could this woman massacre the English language anymore? I could actually just provide. That's fantastic. What does that mean? What does that even mean?
I don't know, but Jam says Costco is better.
It is? Is it?
I don't know. But Taylor says, my son has 2 communicative disorders, ADHD and hypermobility, and they put him on a 504 instead of an IEP. How can she get that changed?
Okay, the first problem is there's no they. You're the they. Say with me, I'm the they. I'm the they. Right? That's the problem. We think it's the team and the parent. You're number one on the federal law. First stakeholder, parent. Right? But you think they're the team. You've got to flip that.
Another question is, what is the benefit to qualifying under 2 classifications, ED and OHI?
So they're eligibilities. They're not classifications. So children have eligibilities. Eligibilities open the door for services, right? So if I'm blind and I have a speech impairment, those are different people that serve my eligibilities.
Okay, and then someone keeps asking, due process or state complaint? Which one's better?
So, do you want the truth? Not a lot happens with a state complaint. Like, I've had state complaints, and then they're like, okay, so they were wrong. They have a 72-month, we're sanctioning them for 72 months. I don't know, they don't get any Chick-fil-A sauce. I don't know what happens. So for 72 months, they have to write a letter back to the state going, we did good, right? A due process is expensive. It's $30,000 easily. So not many people have $30,000 to spend on a due process. It's a good attorney is going to be somewhere between $250 and $500 an hour, right? A lot of my cases now are OCR cases, the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. But I have somebody that trains me. I take law classes. I take a law course in the summer. I train with NITA, NITA.org, the National Institute of Trial Advocates. So, there. Yeah, so it just depends. They each have a benefit. So I like due process. Last year I filed 29 due processes in Texas, and I settled 22 of them, and I won 1. So this year I have filed 2, and I settled 1, and we won the other one today.
Yay!
Black Hummingbird asked, would I email a records request to the principal, the superintendent?
Oh, no. I want you guys to do a new thing. Pretend you're not at Starbucks. Get out of your car. This year, get out of your car. So you're going to take the letter, you're going to type it all out on your typewriter, and you're going to make 2 copies. And you're going to walk it in with your request, and you're going to go to legal at your school district with your driver's license, and you're going to say, Betty Joe, or Tommy Joe, or whoever it is, or Vincent, I'm here to get my students' records. Here's 2 original copies. I signed them both. I need you to sign them. And they'll sign them, and then in 45 days, you should be in receipt of your records. I love Billings, Montana. My first roommate when I was becoming a celebrity was from Billings. I don't know what that is, but I love it. So, but that's how you ask for a records request. We need to show up. Our kids are worth showing up for. And it gets people's attention when you're in the lobby. I love a good lobby, right? Have you ever seen Terms of Endearment where her daughter is sick and she runs out and she's like, it's time for my daughter to have the shot. Give her the shot. And the lady's like, I'm almost done. And she's like, give her the shot, right? That's the way you have to be with your kid. It's your kid. Are you going to sit at Thanksgiving and go, I'm sorry, Billy, I know you're 38, you can't read, but, I was scared of the people at school. No, don't do that. You're a parent or a mama bear or a dad or a grandparent. That is your child that you have been given stewardship over. You're going to have to petition your request. No school district's going to go, oh, here's a basket of everything your kiddo needs to be successful. You're going to have.
Yes. Jade says, does an IEP expire? The school is threatening to stop service if I don't agree with the newest IEP.
Milk expires. IEPs don't. It's not funny, but this. No, IEPs don't expire. Do you think during Harvey, when schools were closed for 27 days, everybody expired? No. Do you think during COVID, just people just expired, just laid out in the playground? What happened? Expired. We just make up words. And I like making up words, but I'm really good at it. So, no. Please provide me that code that says the IEP expires. You guys, listen to me. We have an IEP portfolio coming out in a few weeks. Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to want to get it, and it comes with a video of me explaining how to use it. We put every state requirements in. You should be connected to your state right now. You should know that in Texas, you would email inquire@spedtex.org. You should know it, Desi. Let's just say a prayer for Missouri. Hallelujah. You should know Steve Adair in Missouri. You should know whoever's running Article 7 in Indiana. You should know that. You should know that. Okay? So when something sounds goofy, just say I was in a meeting and Shannon says, my child could expire. I feel like that's a crime, right? And here's what you say in the email to the state. Please tell me where that is in the code. Please tell me where that is in the code. Because if it's in the code in your state, they're going to send you the link. They're going to send you the link. Otherwise, like our friends in Missouri said, there's no such law that you speak of. Thank you. So then I printed that out because I'm a fantastic printer. And I held it up and I said, my friend Steve at the Missouri Department of Education said there's no such law that you speak of. Okay. Now, nobody says they're sorry. Nobody says, just kidding, right? People that are not good at their jobs that tell parents things aren't true do that because parents just respectfully, blindly believe everybody at the school. Like they know everything about special education. They don't. They know what somebody else taught them. I would ask your school-based members, Who trained you? Because in Texas, the requirements for a special education director are, like my natural hair color, don't exist. There's no specific in the code requirement for special education directors in Texas. What? Shouldn't they have to be special educationers? So you need to be the most informed person at your meeting. I would connect with your state board of education immediately, if not sooner.
Thank you. Lamb asks, and you're going to love this question. I think they just know you enough that they know you're going to love this question. Is it illegal during an IEP meeting for the school to discuss paperwork without showing it to you?
Are you in Louisiana? No, we're not going to talk about anything that I can't see. So maybe you all want to flip around your laptops. I'll wait. Who sits in a meeting without equal paperwork? That is one of your other procedural rights that's being violated. You are being denied two things: IEP team membership and meaningful participation in the IEP meeting. So this is what I do. And all of my advocates know that I'm really good at this. I don't know where it is. I just grab my appointment book and go, listen, it doesn't look like we're working together today. So let me get my book and we'll look at another day to reconvene. And I just open it up. I don't do goofy. I don't do meetings with little kids. I'm not doing that. Grown people don't do that. Can you imagine buying a house going, oh, listen, I can't let you see the house, but it's got a door and everything. I know, but could I see it? And a front and back door. You're signing a federal document that they take federal funds with. So no, we're not doing that.
So Paige wants to know, she's in Missouri. Why do they push for one eligibility?
Because you believe it. And we only have to write goals around eligibilities, right? So if we've told people in Missouri, and one of my great affiliates is one of the hostesses tonight, she believed that too, until I reached out to Steve Adair in compliance, and he's like, nope. So when we've told thousands of people a mistruth, those thousands of people, when they re-articulate it, it sounds legitimate. They don't have any reason to believe the person before them wasn't telling them the truth. I don't know many teachers that go and print out the 386 pages of the Texas Administration Code before they go and start teaching third grade. Probably don't have it printed out like I do. I'm a weirdo, right? They went to school to teach, not know about state statutes. So it's your job to make sure that you know them.
And Dad Influencer is asking, are students required to master all IEP goals at their annual review?
No. Students are humans. They're not robots, right? So if they didn't master their goal, we want to look at what are the components of that goal. Was the criteria too high? Were, the times that we redirected them too low? Does he need more minutes to work on that? Does he need more specially designed instruction? Does he need a different setting to work on his IEP goals? There's a bunch of different things.
Okay, and then what states are the worst in special ed?
Every state has amazing humans, and every state could use a few more. And I'm in Texas, where we rank 50th out of 50, and I love this state. So every state can do better.
Okay, and then Tara says, I had an IEP meeting. We discussed the accommodations. I signed off, and the new IEP has nothing that we talked about.
Great. I would say we need to reconvene because obviously the typist has not graduated high school typing class 101. You just go back to the table. That's why you record. There's only 9 or 11 states that are still a one disclosure state. I record all my meetings. Unless I'm in Florida. Somebody just said meeting them to death. That's funny.
What is the next step after a school denies a 504 and you appeal the decision?
So it depends. It depends on what was you have to know what is the denial based on. There are schools that deny a 504 and they're right. I think that sometimes parents are confused. What is it for? So a 504 or an IEP is for a student that needs more support that can solely be provided by the general ed teacher. And I meet with a few, not many, but I meet with a few parents and there's no educational need and they don't like that. Because parents, we're all parents, or we have nieces and nephews. Nobody wants a kid to struggle, but you could have a kid with failing grades that doesn't need an IEP or a 504, and you can have a kid that is in honors classes that needs an IEP. So what is the educational need? What do I need to write services and supports around so that they can be successful adults?
Okay, and then our self-contained teacher refuses to use any visual schedules or other behavior supports. Help.
So is this a parent asking, Bonnie?
Yes.
So I'm sure that's part of the behavior intervention plan. It might be part of the PCS, the personal care supplement. So today I had a complaint opened, and we talked about the accommodations that are listed in the AT supplement, the assistive technology, the PCS, the personal care supplement, the BIP, the behavior intervention plan. And actually the investigator goes, I got it. I got enough. Right. So you have to implement the whole IEP. It's not a buffet. You have to implement the whole thing.
Okay, and what about when they keep writing goals too low?
Okay, first of all, there's no they. We are the they. We are the they. Can we make that a t-shirt? Am I chopping up the English language? So it's not they. We all are IEP equal team members, which is why it's so important for you guys to join the academy so that you know what your rights are. You don't have rights if you don't know what they are. And you don't have rights if you don't know what they are and how to invoke them, right? So you don't have rights if you don't know what they are. And you don't have rights if you don't know what they are and how to invoke them, right? So you need to know that. But you are equal team members. And when other team members provide something you don't agree with, say, it sounds to me like you're about to provide me some written data that supports your decision. It sounds to me like you're about to provide me some written data that supports your decision. Let's see it.
Okay, and then this question says, they are constantly asking to leave early in the meeting. I know that's illegal with prior notification, ?
Yeah, so that's why I just get my appointment book and I see, you know what, Bonnie, it looks like you have other commitments today, and I understand that picking up your poodle is important. So let me get my book and let's look at another time. Okay, I can't do next week, but what about December 11th? What do you guys have? It's a business meeting. If you think it's something else, you're wrong. It's a business meeting. And people in business meetings that can't finish, they reschedule. You're not friends. You're in a business meeting.
Okay, and then time limit from an IEP meeting to getting a copy. They have waited 2.5 months.
What? You guys are really nice. What is that? We don't wait. Would you wait 2.5 months to get a child's prescription? Because that's what an IEP is, right? It's something prescriptive so your student can be successful. If you don't have it, probably nobody else does. So I would immediately email the special education director and say, I will be in receipt of my child's IEP by 5 p.m. Are you going to deliver that by courier or just email? See, we ask questions that assume the answer. We don't say why. Why'd you do that? Well, I will be receiving my child's IEP by close of business today. Will that be by courier or email?
Okay, and Jessica says, what's this academy that you speak of? I would love to learn more about my rights for my son with ADHD and dyslexia.
Sure, so every Tuesday night, except for tonight, we meet at 8 p.m. Central.
Love to learn more about my rights for my son with ADHD and dyslexia.
Sure, so every Tuesday night, except for tonight, we meet at 8 p.m. Central for 2 hours and we train on laws, legal requirements, duties, and obligations, and how to appropriately write, implement, and deliver a successful individualized education program, 504s, and then at the end, we open it up for questions. We have hundreds of hours that are archived on the Academy with workbooks. You can avail yourself of that. It's $47 a month. You can stay as for questions. We have hundreds of hours that are archived on the Academy with workbooks. You can avail yourself of that. It's $47 a month. You can stay as long as you want or as short as you want. I don't know, that's a good sentence, but it's good. It's not the Hotel California. Shannon, did you have a question?
Let's see here. I was answering some in the comments.
That's okay.
What is your opinion on multi-tiered systems of supports?
So MTSS or RTI or UPS or FedEx or OPI, I'm for anything that serves a student. And if multi-tiered support serves a student, that's great. If RTI serves a student, great. But they're both very quick interventions, and they either fill the gap or they don't. What we do is we have kiddos in RTI or MTSS for years, which was never the intention.
Okay, and then Sarah has asked a couple times about the academy. So can you talk about what the academy is?
Sure. It's still the same thing. So we meet on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central. Right now are we in a series? Are we about to start a series?
We're about to start one.
Are we? Is it a secret? I can't remember.
Only
we haven't heard yet.
It's a secret. And as soon as I tell myself, I'm going to let you guys know. So we just finished a series on the 7 Gs, which was amazing, which is on the brain skills. When you're doing IQ testing, we do real important stuff so that you guys can be really effective in IEP meetings, whether you're the diagnostician, the SPED lead, whoever you are in the meeting parent. But it's training for whoever sits at the table so that you have the right information. There is no training for people out there, which is why years ago I used to always Google special education training. And what came up was the wonderful Mr. Pete Wright, who is, a legend, a federal attorney. He's amazing. And he provides a 5-day class in the summer at St. Mary's. It's wonderful. It's quite the application process. And it's an investment, certainly worth it, I'm sure. He does a 1-day class, writes law. There's one in San Antonio the first week in September, but it's a law class and it's 1 day and it's 1 day, right? And at the end, you're like, my head. So this is a way that you get ongoing training. We break things down. And at the end of every training, we open it up and answer whatever your questions are.
And to piggy off of that, a lot of people are asking, how do you start to become an advocate? Like, how do you start this journey? What do you do? How do you train?
So that's part of the 2-day training. So day 1 is how to advocate for one person. And then day 2 is how to be fully trained to be a special education advocate for a living. And we lay all that out in 2 days. And that's a 2-day in-person training, and we have it digital on demand. The academy is good for no matter what age your child is. Yes.
So this question from Christy says she's in Georgia. The student has an IEP, hasn't been reevaluated in 6 years since 2nd grade. School says not until May. What does she do?
You just make that noise. You just call and just go, and then hang up. So a child is, so they're out of compliance. Here's what you say. You're out of compliance. Please let's schedule a meeting to sign notice and consent for updated testing. You start out your meeting, your email. You are out of compliance with my child's testing. Those are legal requirements you don't get out of. I had a kiddo the other day, hadn't been tested for 8 years. 8. Yeah.
Is an art teacher qualified to represent a gen ed teacher during the IEP meeting?
Any teacher that knows the student, that has meaningful input, absolutely is qualified to be the general ed teacher. Probably not the initial one that I would pick. I can't think of, you look at the eligibility, right? If the student has an eligibility in a math area, probably don't have the art teacher come. So love the art teacher, love the welding teacher, love the ag teacher, love the tennis teacher, but those usually aren't federal eligibilities.
Okay, and if RTI isn't working, how can we move to test the child?
Dear staff, this is my formal request for my student to have special education testing. Areas of suspected disability are language, behavior, emotional, and academic needs. I look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. And all that's in the new IEP portfolio, which is coming out at the end of the week.
You're getting lots of love as well that says, how can I be like you? One day I want to be smart enough to help other parents in my area. You are amazing.
You're amazing. You guys inspire me, really. Parents that love their kiddos, teachers that lay down their lives for other people's kids. You amaze me. I love you guys.
Okay, and then what if you don't know the student and got invited to an ARD?
Unfortunately, school-based members are forced into those situations, which is why you need really good representation. I was in an IEP meeting last year, and I said to the special ed teacher, I said, have you ever met this student? Just threw that question out there, and she goes, no. So the point of being a stakeholder is you have a stake in this child's future. You have a buy-in, right? You know this kiddo. So before I go to a meeting, I have my clients email the school and say, hey, I'll say, hey, Sarah, can you please email the school for Zane's meeting? And here's what I need you to email it. Please provide me the list of attendees and their role, right? I want to know why this person's coming. Somebody asked, why can't paras be part of the ARD or IEP meeting? We spend more time with them than anyone else. You know why? Because then between advocates and paras, we'd bust up the whole thing. We would tell everybody the whole truth. Yeah, here's who I think should be at the IEP meeting. The parent, the para, and the teacher. Everybody else can go. I don't know why the other people are there sometimes. But yeah, I love paras.
Hey, can I jump in? I've seen this one lady, she commented and asked if a state can have different eligibilities than what's listed federally. She moved to a different state, and they're saying her child no longer qualifies because they don't recognize autism as an eligibility.
So there are two eligibilities that are specific to states. One is NCEC, non-categorical early childhood suspicion of. So non-categorical early childhood. That would be for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. And then we also have DD, development delayed. There's only 7 states that still use that, and that's for 3 to 9-year-olds. The autism, I think that person should drive to the Dollar General, get a pool noodle, and bonk that person in the head. Autism, alphabetically, is the first federal eligibility under IDEA. So maybe that person that said that should join the academy.
Someone's asking if you can record your 504 meetings.
You can record whatever you want to record. That's my position. So if you're in a one disclosure state, right? And you don't have an intellectual disability, and the person you're talking to doesn't have an intellectual disability, and you want to record, I would record. I tell school districts that I train all the time, assume that somebody's recording you all the time. There's a handful of states that are 2 disclosure states that you have to ask the committee members. There are some states that have put in some ridiculous shenanigans, and their state statute that they need 24-hour notice. So again, if I'm in a meeting and they say that it's a state requirement, I'm like, great, then screen share that state requirement. I don't know where it is right now. Super, I'm going to be recording, right? So why wouldn't you want it recorded? I would think both sides would want it recorded, right? So then that way we don't get a document that's wrong.
I know we addressed this earlier, but someone's asking for you to share your thoughts on retention for a student who has an IEP. Can they fail a grade?
What grade?
I think she said earlier she was in 4th grade.
Yeah. So retention is very, 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 very much a personal decision. Has nothing to do with special education. Retention is a parent and administrator decision. So other than kindergarten and some unique circumstances in 1st grade, I am never going to advocate for a kiddo to be retained for a million reasons. after that, it's going to be a fist fight that you're probably not going to win, right? I don't know why a kid on IEP would fail. And that means you didn't properly adjust his document. But again, it's a very personal decision. And once a kid gets a little bit older, whether we think so or not, that is their graduating class. That is their peers. And so you want to look at that really respectfully. Additionally, I have never personally worked with a family that retained their child and wasn't happy with that decision. But I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that's retained their child that wasn't happy with it.
Amen to that. If the district records, do they have to share their recording?
If you request it. But here's what happens to recordings at districts, especially when it gets hot in the meeting. And I don't mean the air conditioning's not working. You know what, Karen? The recording's not working now, which is why I use otter.ai. Somebody really type that in there. Hey, Tiffany talks a lot. We voted for you. So I record on otter.ai. So I have a laptop here, and I record. Why? Because it transcribes in real time, and I sit in 4, 5, 6 IEP meetings plus 500 conversations with attorneys and investigators and hearing officers and other attorneys and other advocates. I couldn't possibly remember everything that I'm saying, much less that I thought or somebody else said. So otter.ai is free. It's a free app for the first 540 minutes. And then I have the deluxe version, which is 6,000 minutes for, I think, $10. So
we love the deluxe version.
We love the deluxe.
Someone said you should make cards to hand out at IEP meetings that say, join the Academy, Muffin.
Join the Academy, Muffin. Yes, dear Muffin, we need you in the Academy. Maybe we should make that like the military one? That would be great.
Yes. Jules says she has a third grader on a first grade reading level. They were D&Q'd from SPED, and now they're fighting for a 504.
That's not possible. That's not possible that you had data to D&Q them. And I think parents just don't know that they're team members, right? Thank you, Uncle Sam. They have no idea that they're equal team members, right? If you were at the hospital, you wouldn't just bust in and like start washing your hands and go back to the operating room. You're equal team members. Or we don't have the meeting. I was at a meeting the other day. I said, you know what? We are not having a good time. And I don't like to not have a good time. So it's unfortunate that we're here. But this is not successful. You're irritated. I'm getting irritated. So let me get my book and let's look at a date to reconvene. There's a point where you're working together and you're not working together. Just getting more angry and you're not working for the student. And that happens to me. It's going to happen to you. It happens to other people. And if Sarah has to go because her poodle is done at the groomer, then go. That's fine. We'll reschedule. But there's nothing more important for us to be fully focused in the meeting when everybody's ready.
And we know Sarah and that poodle, man.
She is very attached to the poodle. And it takes forever to dry in Missouri. Like, forever.
Mom of both said she requested an eval. The school wants to have a meeting prior to decide if the eval is needed. I think you're from Louisiana.
No. I don't need to come to your eval meeting, right? I don't need a meeting. I requested the testing. So, but if you need to have a meeting yourself to death. I don't need for the meeting they're inviting you to is to talk you out of it. I promise you. So, if you choose to deny me testing, please provide that denial in writing. Easy peasy. I don't need to come to your school meeting for you to tell me what you see on your data.
Someone asked, their child is going into high school. Can they be exempt from Spanish?
So a second language is a LOT requirement, right? We can exchange that LOT requirement for other courses. I mean, there are kids in special ed that are struggling with English. It's not likely to learn another language. Plus, in a foreign language, can't modify another language.
That is true.
I mean, obviously, I am. Karen, is that? I'm sorry. I'm not. Am I sorry? Did I get up at 3 o'clock?
Fruit.
Did I get up at 3 o'clock this morning in Orlando with a lot of children? Mm-hmm.
Yes. What do I do if?
So I want to talk
work-
about this. One of my amazing advocates just said ASL is possible. Donna, my love. ASL is the quickest way to get a SPED kid in tears. Here's what you're thinking about for a foreign language. While that seems very I would think it would be good for SPED kiddos. When you're talking about a foreign language, there's lots of kiddos that can tolerate a foreign language. But here's the things you have to look at. Is there an ASL tutor in my neighborhood, right? ASL, you can't slow down sign language, right? So, and I've only learned that because I've had kids that they have been devastated. So, of all the foreign languages that I would never recommend my SPED kiddos go into would be ASL. But that's just my opinion. I go into foreign language all the time. I just go into, what is that place that has the French? La Madeleine. I get all my Spanish from there. Do they have that in Louisiana, La Madeleine?
Probably not.
You just have Popeyes?
Correct. What if the team has a meeting without you as a parent?
Well, that team better not have a meeting without me. If they better not have had an IEP meeting. The school can have 8,000. I don't need to go to school meetings. I don't need to go to their school meetings or their staffings. But absolutely. Okay, so I just want to go back to this ASL thing because I'm going to jump in. There is no special ed inclusion there's no special ed inclusion in foreign language. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. So you have to realize that electives and foreign language and higher classes, there's no requirement for inclusion, right? So every SPED kid I've already had in 26 years, there's no second teacher. There's no special ed teacher in a foreign language.
Correct. We were told that because our child is in SPED, we won't receive a diploma, only a certificate in North Carolina.
So I would email your Department of Education and say, is that true? Again, is your child going to the 18 to 21 program?
We'll see what she says. What do I do if my son's school isn't implementing his IEP accommodations?
I would file a federal complaint with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights for failure to implement his IEP. Yes, little Shannon has her hand up.
Can IEP kid be exempt from sports for grades? My sons will lose all drive if they pull sports from him.
So that's a good question. So in the great America, we like our sports, right? And I love sports. Any opportunity to yell in public, I'm here for yelling anywhere. So you can, as an IEP committee, decide that they are exempt from the no pass, no play requirement, and that if they're making progress on their IEP goals, that stands in place of any grade.
Do you think that a sign interpreter should be separate from DHH? I've seen it combined.
Yeah. An interpreter isn't a DHH itinerant teacher. They're two different things. And you can have DHH services and never need an interpreter.
Thank you. Kit Kat Katie says, do we have to go through the chain of...
Kit Kat Katie? I like that.
I know. She wants to know if you have to go through the chain of admins before you complain to the state.
No. Yes, I'd like to get all the chains of admins on the phone. No. You certainly, if you're going to be doing things legally like state complaints, mediations, due process, those hearing officers, as you build a rapport with them, certainly want to know that you've exhausted all your administrative options. I don't just roll up and go, we're filing. So I find somebody that will listen at the school, somebody that will listen to the district. If not, then we file. DHH is an eligibility. It's deaf and hard of hearing students.
What reasons can a school deny a parent requested testing?
I mean, how long is the string? I mean, they just can't, right? There's no requirement to deliver testing. It's the one thing that you can deny a parent. But they have to give you a robust prior written notice, which we have a training on in the academy, already archived. So if you don't know the components of the prior written notice, you wouldn't know if your procedural rights were being violated. So the no pass, no play exemption. So in the IEP paperwork, you're going to put it in there somewhere that Billy plays soccer, Billy's on the debate team, Billy is raising a little chicken, whatever UIL competition he's in. And we put in the paperwork that he is exempt from the no pass, no play requirement should he make progress on his IEP goals. Yes, prior written notice training is so needed. Amen. Landline raised. I like that. Landline raised. You guys are so clever. You're clever. That was for you. That was for you, Alicia. You're clever. Did you like that?
Thank you, honey. Thank you. I heard it. If my son has a para, will there be one waiting for him the first day of high school?
No. I'm sorry. No, it sounds like a bride, doesn't it? I am here waiting for you. We provide special education support for the students' needs. I don't find a lot of kiddos that need a para. I find a lot of kiddos that are given a para, right? So a lot of times we give people what they want and not what they need. Those are two different things. Does a student need, if the student is at school 375 minutes a day, do they need a para 375 minutes a day? It's not been my experience that they do. There are a few, but it's rare.
Okay. I think we have time for 5 more. Are you good to go?
No, 5 more. I'm gonna count.
Okay, good. All right. I asked for a copy of my child's IEP and ARD and was told I have to pay for one in the state of Texas.
Lord Jesus, there's a fire. Okay, so the actual only language about a parent receiving an IEP and IDEA is that you can't charge them. I'm sorry. Did I raise my voice there? You should just tell them, I'm calling Karen and you're going to get it. That's what you should do.
Yeah, and they're in Texas, so they'll know exactly.
And I want to know, what is the fee? Is it like $39.95? Is it BOGO? Like, do you get, like, what? Is there like half off on Fridays?
Can you get a payment plan on that?
Yeah. It's like just cash. You meet him at the back dumpster. Please, 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 please.
Someone asked, are you allowed to know the exact name of assessments they use?
Yes. It's on the front page of the evaluation. It says we use the WISC 5. We use the WJ4. We use the Lightner 3. We use the Selfie, which is not just for TikTok, but that's free. We use the BASC 3. Of course, you have to list the instrument.
Yes, I agree. Jessica wants to know that her daughter has been identified as having a delay. She's in 1st grade, and they're saying the testing isn't for another 50 days.
Is it going to be completed? That might be true.
Yeah, because they have 60 days federally. So we'll see if they're not going to start testing or they're not going to be finished.
And yes, I do consults. Somebody asked if I do consults.
Yes. Transportation as a related services, bus vendor suspended school, district says no intervention.
I'm sorry. What the Hello Kitty did you just say?
Transportation as a related service, bus vendor suspended son, district says no interventions.
All right. I don't know what happened. I've had a kiddo on a bus that pulled out a knife. So they're suspended from the bus. I would have to know more parameters around that.
Yeah. So maybe they can email you.
Yeah, admin@specialeducationacademy.com. $1 a page. You should have said I would pay triple. It's $1 a page. I would say I want it on silk paper. That's what I would have said.
Your girl Les said, Director of Special Services is denying my child another evaluation before exiting dyslexia program.
So dyslexia may not be, you probably have general education dyslexia, so you may not have gotten in on an IEP. Dyslexia is a general ed product, and you move to maintenance.
Yes. And then a couple people are asking, how do you start?
Yeah, and somebody said, are you hiring? I am training you to be invaluable. So, and this is the last question I'm going to answer. So, at the end of the training, and there's 5 people on the other side of this Zoom, and they're nodding because I'm telling them to nod or they're going to get it. If they never saw me again, if they were never on the academy, they had what they needed to go out and be advocates. They had more than what anybody else at the table knew, and they had the directives on how to get that. So you could be a full-time advocate within 90 days of taking the 2-day period. I always tell my advocates that I train, if you go on the Facebook and you post, hey, I'm a mediocre special education advocate, you'll be full, right? 7.5 million children have an IEP. What? 605,000 children in Texas. So I don't know what you're waiting for. We need you. We love you. We even love the ones that are clever. So thank you, Tiffany, for all the love. I hope you won the thing of the deal of the thing. If you guys don't know, Tiffany talks a lot. She is ridiculously amazing. She greets you in the morning and says, good morning. Have a happy Thursday. I'm like, ugh. She's great. You should follow her. She's awesome sauce. Yes, Angelique, you are the next advocate. So we love you guys. Does that say Team Butter? I like that. You guys have such good names. So we're going to jump off. We will see you. This will be a standing time, 7 p.m. We'll do an hour because the academy starts at 8 p.m. But 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll have Ask the Advocate because we want you guys to have your questions answered so that you can go out there and be a rock star and serve those kiddos at the IEP 504 table. Remember, we get it right for the child. We get it right for everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. If you need anything, please just reach out to us at admin at Special Education Academy. And we have openings for the next 2-day training in West Virginia or wherever you are. And we'll see you guys in the next training.